The UFC is back to Sao Paulo, Brazil, with Lyoto Machida and Derek Brunson in the main event. I'm Guilherme Cruz, and I'm here with John Gooden to preview the best fights of Saturday night's UFC card. First of all, thank Gooden for joining me in this preview show.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. And it's not your first time here in Brazil, but you're big cage side this time for the event. What do you expect about the environment of the arena here in Brazil?
Well, I've been here since Wednesday, so I checked out the open workouts and the fans were awesome there. So I think it's going to be loud. We got a lot of Brazilians fighting international opponents, so there's a lot of support to be had. I'm sure there will probably be a couple of upsets. You never know. Maybe a clean sweep for the Brazilians, but whatever happens, Brazilian fans are known for getting behind the fighters. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's probably gonna be louder in the co-main event. Damian Maia against Colby Covington.
Yes.
Colby had a lot of things to say about the city. First of all, you've been here in Sao Paulo for a few days now. Do you share his opinion about Sao Paulo?
No, not at all. No, I mean, I haven't seen a great deal of Brazil because I kind of see an airport, take a ride down to the hotel and then the arena. But no, it's a really nice city. I've been out and about, lots of hills in Sao Paulo. But yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I'm here for the fights, and if I can get to experience any of the culture, then that's brilliant. But the people here are lovely, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of days as well.
And this is an interesting matchup. Colby's on a run, but Damian needs to get back in the winning track. He's coming off a disappointing loss to Tyron Woodley. And interesting that Colby is actually the favorite in the betting. So, are you surprised that Damian is the underdog, especially fighting here in Brazil?
I think I am, actually. He's just come off of challenging for the title, and whatever you think about that, that was a long time coming. He fought his way to that title shot. So to go in against someone in your own backyard with his kind of skill set, I don't know. I don't really read into odds that much, only when they're really long odds. But hey, listen, Colby Covington is a legit threat, though, to the title. If he gets in a position where he can challenge, he's a genuine threat to the title as well. So, but he's got a seriously hard task ahead of him. I mean, his world really is when it hits the mat. He enjoys wrestling, but he's very mobile. He's a very mobile striker, working with a great team as well. So to say that he's just a wrestler would definitely be selling him short. And we saw against in his fight in Singapore that he can kind of win the fight wherever his opponent's strengths are. So he's arrogant. So I think he might try and make a point of beating Maia when it hits the canvas.
Yeah. And Damian had a lot of trouble when he's not able to take his opponent to the ground like Woodley, like Jorge Masvidal. Yeah. Do you think that maybe this is the biggest fight for Damian, because if he loses, his title aspirations are pretty much over at this age now? Do you think that this is a must-win situation for him if he wants to stay relevant in the title picture in the UFC?
The last time I said that was when Michael Bisping lost to Luke Rockhold in the first fight. And then Michael Bisping came back and became champion. So I kind of don't want to say that. But, realistically, there are a lot of young prospects coming through now in the welterweight division. Darren Till last weekend, he's put himself right in that picture. And we've got Mike Perry, Ponzinibbio as well. So, yeah, it's a really competitive division. So he needs to stay on top of things if he wants to get back in title contention.
You're a big cage side. Do you make predictions, or you just stay away from that?
No, I try and stay away from it. But I was saying to you before as we were coming up here, you speak to one guy and you're like, wow, sounds like he's really on point for this fight. Then you speak to the opponent and you're like, wow, he sounds like he's really on point for that. So you never really know, and mine is all about telling the story of what the fighter's been doing in between times, and then obviously just seeing what's happening around in the fight. So I try not to get too involved in my personal thoughts or fan opinion of the fights. Yeah.
In the main event, we have Lyoto Machida against Derek Brunson. It's an important fight. And it's an interesting matchup because Lyoto is such a great counter striker, and Derek Brunson is an aggressive striker. So I'm looking forward to see what Derek Brunson is going to do, because Lyoto, I think he's going to do what he always does. But will Derek Brunson be as aggressive as he always is, especially coming off a win? But before that, he had that close loss to Anderson Silva because he wasn't that aggressive against such a decorated striker like Anderson Silva. So what do you expect from Derek Brunson, especially in this fight?
You know, I just don't know, because he shows in fights like Daniel Kelly that he has a bit of patience, but then when he does decide to go kind of all Derek Brunson on us, he can shut the lights out, gets the win. I think it was like a double jab, and then that big heavy hand behind it, and that was enough. And Daniel Kelly's super strong. You know, if I'm honest, I think that Derek Brunson, I think he won that fight against Anderson Silva. I tried to score it back, so but this is a big fight, and again, going back to what I was saying, having listened to a lot of the interviews and spoken to both fighters, more so to Derek than I have Lyoto, but Lyoto's up for this. You know, it sounds like he's gone back to his traditional martial arts roots. And he is one of the best counter strikers that we've ever seen in this sport. He kind of created his own era when I was really getting involved in mixed martial arts. So he's a legend. Whatever happens, he's a legend. And the counter striker plays perfectly into that aggressive style. Ryan Bader got frustrated, ran straight into Machida. It was all done. So it can happen that quickly, but at the same time, you know, if Derek Brunson puts his fists on you, you could be going to sleep.
Yeah. And Lyoto is coming off 2 losses, but it's 2 losses against Rockhold and Romero, 2 of the best fighters in the division. Do you think a big win Saturday against Brunson puts him right back in the position to maybe be one or 2 wins away from the title? Because it's not like it's kind of messy right now in the middleweight division with Bisping fighting GSP. Nobody knows who's going to win and if the winner is going to continue fighting. So, and you have Whittaker staying the sidelines with the interim title. Do you think Lyoto could be 1 or 2 wins away from fighting for the UFC title again?
Well, I think his name carries so much weight that he probably, you know, with the fans behind him, that puts him in a really strong position if he's trying to campaign for things, particularly, as you say, when things are a little, you know, up in the air and with injuries, with things happening. You know, Luke Rockhold and Romero, really and truly, he should be in line behind those guys. But you never know with injuries and what happens. So, yeah, within a few fights. And I think also, given his age, I think if the opportunity comes about, then I'm sure that the UFC would probably look favourably and give him that opportunity. But look, he's got to get past Brunson first, and a lot of people have come up against that and been stopped right there.
Yeah. And speaking about the rest of the card, there are a lot of great matchups. There are not big UFC stars in Brazil, but there are a lot of potential future stars in the UFC here in Brazil, and a lot of great matchups. Is there any fight specifically that you're looking forward to? Is going to be a great one?
Yeah, I think 2 fights for me. The main card opens with Marlon Vera taking on John Lineker. I love Marlon Vera. You know, I've seen this kid come up. He's so young, but he's got a very mature head, got a great team around him, and his skill set, he's showing us that he has everything everywhere, you know, and he's always improving. So that's he's a real prospect. But again, you know, the X factor with John Lineker is, you know, he can knock you out. Yeah, exactly. And he made weight. There weren't any particular complications there. So, and I'm pleased to see that. That always makes things a lot more straightforward. But he's the ranked guy. You know, this could be Marlon Vera's coming out party, but again, it could solidify John Lineker in that spot so that he can go forward another 1 or 2 fights, and he's right back in there as well. So that's good. And then for me, Pedro Munoz versus Rob Font, super exciting fight. I always take time out to speak to Pedro, particularly. He's very good at giving his time, really nice guy, and he's had a hell of a journey. He's from here in Sao Paulo as well, so it's nice for him to come back, despite having, you know, moved from California to Florida now and being a part of American Top Team, training with Renan Barão for this, which was a bit of a coincidence. But Rob Font, man, that guy, he's ready. He's ready, he's adding to his tools, been working with Joe Lozon as well, kind of fallen back in love with jiu-jitsu, I think. So it might be an error to try your jiu-jitsu skills in this fight. I think he's clever enough not to play, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a really exciting fight, though.
The interesting thing about Pedro Munoz is because he's from Sao Paulo, he's Brazilian, but no one in Brazil relates to him as a Brazilian because he has left the country a long time ago. He lives in the U.S., so... But he fought him here once in the UFC Sao Paulo, and he got a nice reaction from the crowd. So it's gonna be nice to see him back here in Sao Paulo. And another thing is Lineker. I'm curious to see. him coming back from the TJ Dillashaw because he fractured his jaw. And he told me that when he came back to training, he didn't feel anything. He wasn't afraid to stand and trade punches and feel his jaw. So he said he's 100% gonna be interesting to see him absorb punches again. He says his chin is always the same, and his chin is solid good.
Yeah, I think there are some articles out there for fans to go and check out about the difference of a broken jaw as opposed to maybe like a knee ligament or something like that. It can affect the mind of a fighter. I don't know how bad the break was, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not just the factor of, you know, is the jaw weakened, but also mentally how fighters react, because sometimes you have to wire the mouth shut and things. It's a pretty harrowing experience to rehabilitate from that. So we'll see how he comes good, but I think he's got, you know, he's a mental fortitude, he's a strong character, and he has to fight that way. You know, that's the way he fights. So if you take that away from him, then he's got real problems going forward, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, he's a maniac. He fractured his jaw in the first minutes against Dillashaw, and he was just headbutting TJ's elbow. He's just a maniac. So I'm curious to see him back in the UFC. Yeah. It's going to be a great card for sure. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the fights being called by you here in Sao Paulo. It's always great to have you here in Brazil. This time, hear you cage side calling the fights with Daniel Cormier. Yeah. It's going to be nice. And thank you very much. Thank you all for following MMA Fighting's work throughout the week. And we have more coverage at Saturday night's fights, post-fight interviews and all that. Can tune in. And thank you all.